So Alvin, thank you so much for coming all the way from Toronto to London.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
To be on our podcast today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess I kind of just want to jump into it, man. You're a real estate investor and you're also a nurse, right? So super busy.
Right.
I guess let's start with the nursing. When did you start becoming a nurse?
So I started nursing as a registered practical nursing. So that was back in 2009.
Yeah. And what made you want to become a nurse?
So it's very interesting because originally I wanted to do electronic engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And when I gone to the program, apparently I'm not registered. And so my professor was telling me to go to the human resource to take a look. And when I found out that they put me into nursing, it was a glitch.
Oh.
So I ended up waiting for 1 whole week before I can get into the program. But during that time, I'm just like, well, you know what? Why don't I give it a shot? Because, I'm already registered. There's no marks taken, so it'll be good to know.
So it was like kind of a mistake that you became
It was a
nurse.
mistake, yeah.
That's crazy.
It's funny how life is sometimes,
Yeah.
And so that's how my nursing career started. It was a mistake. I got in there, and the professor was great. We were all hands on deck, like jumping on chest, compression, everything. I really enjoyed that. So I'm like, you know what? Forget about electronic engineering. I'm sticking to that.
I feel like that's such a radical switch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it
you know
is.
what I mean?
It's very different too because that's kind of what I went to school for. Like I did
Yeah.
a lot of electronics and robotics. So then to see that jump to nursing, it's completely different because
Yeah.
it's like you're sitting in a desk working on little like computer chips, right?
Yeah.
And then you're actually doing full force like compressions, like saving
Yeah.
people's lives, right?
Exactly. I mean, I didn't even know what I want to do. Like,
Yeah.
let's be real. Like, everyone who graduates out of high school, like, they're like clueless what to do. So, I like playing games. So that was my first thing I came across with. I was like, let's do electronic. I got to build robots and whatever.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be healthcare.
Yeah. And then did you ever so you never thought you were gonna actually be working with people, more like machines?
Well, I was always have that human connection, healthcare mindset, but I just didn't know. My grades weren't that great, first of all, so I can't get into doctor or any of those healthcare professional roles. Nursing, there was being a male to be in there, it's kind of a little bit, in my opinion, like I didn't know if I should go in there. So,
Yeah.
but I was like, I like playing games, like I told you, so. So I decided to like give that a shot, but I mean, hey, everything all worked out. Yeah, nursing wasn't even part of my what I thought, So
It was like a blessing in disguise, kind of.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And being a nurse, I guess what is one of the toughest things of being a nurse? Like one of the toughest parts of the job?
Wow, there's it's the 12-hour shift. That's a killer, I think human beings are not meant to do overnight, when we sleep, go to sleep. But I mean, like our circadian rhythm is always messed up. We do 12 hours, 5 days a week, and then we switch back to night shift and then day shift back and forth. So I think that was really tough. Like juggling around with a lot of tasks, there's a lot of multitasking in nursing. You're doing orders, you're giving medications, you're promoting health with our patients, and every patient has their certain demands. Imagine looking after 5 to 6 patients, and during short staff, you're looking at. I've once looked after 10 patients in one day, and these are critically ill patients. We're talking about emerge ICU patients. So if you have 10 patients and they're short staff, that's really tough. So I think that was the biggest challenge for nurses is handling all these multitasking and sometimes the night shifts, day shift, back and forth, and also short staff. And in today's situation, we're seeing a lot of that. Yeah.
Has it become harder over like the last few years? At least the work.
Yes, definitely for sure. We're seeing a lot of sick calls, burnout rate, especially COVID. This is not new. I'm not making this up or anything. Like all the literatures are now talking about, and the burnout rate is high right now for nurses, doctors, and allied health and all healthcare providers in general, not just nurses. And when there's shortness of like healthcare provider working, there's more demand onto one person to take on that full load of what they're supposed to be taking when they were fully staffed. So there's a lot of high turnover rate, burnout rate, and a lot of people moving from one department to another just to
I feel like that's so tough because, like, if, like, let's say, for example, you're working at an office and you have so much work, like, in front of you, like, you're dealing with, like, paper.
Yeah.
But, like, as a nurse, you're dealing with human lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the one thing that it's hard for me to wrap my head around. Like, and that's why I have so much, like, respect for, like, nurses and people in the
Thank
healthcare.
you.
Because, like,
Yeah.
they're working with actual lives. You know what I mean? It's not like you can be like, I'll do that tomorrow. Like, no, this
Yeah.
person might die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, it's crazy. Like, I see my fellow coworkers that are like surgeons and doctors. You know, they're tired, they're burned out as well too. You know, I don't know, just maybe it's just my hospital,
Yeah.
but when I speak to my network of nurses and doctors and pharmacists, they're all saying the same thing. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope we're working on it, and I'm sure we are, but it takes time. So
That's, like, obviously seems like a busy schedule. How did you jump into real estate, or what made you think, like, okay, I want to start building businesses now on top of doing all that?
I got into real estate because I got laid off as a registered nurse. Something that I thought that would never happen. You know, in a busy emergency department, I was told that it's time for me to go. And good thing I had a union, but my union wasn't also strong as well too. So I decided to do what's right and to take a break from nursing, just to recalibrate, think about what my next goal is. And it was during that time when I was trying to find myself. It was great that I took a step back to reflect and everything. I started to realize I got to find some way to protect myself. And so I've been not only looking at books, reading books and everything. These books slowly led me to what I found, which you read as well too, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
And Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like, really enlightened my eyes, like, that not only do you have to protect yourself, but you have to be, in order to do that, you need to be financially prepared.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started to explore every avenue of investment vehicles. And the one that made sense to me the most was real estate.
Yeah.
And so I decided to dive into real estate full-fledged into it, but I didn't know how to get started, like many novice investors. So I went around networking, and I came across a fellow investor, and he told me that, you know what, I think that you need a lot of help, because if you just go dive into it, you can do it, but it'll be very painful, and you might not be doing everything correctly. And even if you do that, like, it's fine, but just make sure you watch your budget. So for myself, I'm like, well, you know what? Like, it's the same thing as me going back to school. You know,
Yeah.
my situation is different from a lot of people. I know a lot of great investor that goes into like, dive deep into it, and they do so well.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm a little bit more conservative. I'm like, I really want to do it properly. I don't want to make that much mistake.
Yeah, yeah.
So I decided to find a coaching program, which you and I are in.
Yeah.
So that's how I got started.
Yeah.
And from there, that's where my journey began.
Yeah. And then I heard that you started investing in Windsor, right? That was, like, your first
That was
place?
my very first.
Yeah, that's very far from where you live, right? Out in the GTA in Toronto?
Correct. Yeah.
Why did you choose Windsor?
Well, Windsor at that time, it was easy to get in. There are still challenges to get in, but you know what? The price point was good. I was going after the only thing I know about, like all the social media that I was talking about. Actually, social media wasn't that heavy yet. It was starting to get really getting more intense. But at that time, the resources were, like, bigger pockets. That's like the Americans, you know.
Yeah.
But I wanted to find Canadian resources, but there weren't too much. So under the coach that I went with, told me a little bit more about the BRRRR strategy.
Yep.
And the BRRRR strategy works really super well if you have an undervalued property.
Yep.
And I live originally in Ottawa.
Yep.
At that time, Ottawa has already skyrocketed, right? The price point was already not to that point where you can afford.
Yep.
You need to find undervalued property. You need to find distressed property. You need to find property that you can negotiate. But in Ottawa, it's like you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So I had to look elsewhere. So the next market that was negotiable, that you can negotiate down the prices and find distressed property and renovate them, is in Windsor, Ontario.
And what year was that in?
That was in 2020 of October.
2020 of October.
Yeah. That was like the peak of COVID, and so prices went down.
Okay, so you got in, like, at a really good time then.
I was really lucky. I got in the good time. It's just like right now, this is the perfect time.
Literally.
Like, this is like back into the time when I started in 2020. So any novice investor that decides to, like, invest, like, this is the best time right now.
Yeah. Were you like, how did you break that mental barrier? Because, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're buying a property during stressful times during COVID. Like, people like don't know for sure if it's gonna go up or down, right?
Yeah.
Like, what got you through that?
Yeah, so two things that happened to me in my life, I was still trying to find my way, because I got let go, so that was really shitty, and I also had my grandmother that was dying, so at that point, I have nothing to lose, I told myself, if I lose all my savings, if I lose all, if my coach decide, like at that time I was working with this coach, I'm brand new, huge trust and everything, even if it doesn't work out, like, who cares? I got nothing else to lose, I had an aging grandmother that's dying of cancer, and I was looking after her. She's going to be gone anytime. And I'm like, well, there's nothing to lose. I want to prove to her that, as a grandson, I still want to make her proud, So I got nothing to lose at that time. So I just went all in.
Yeah, and you really did go all in.
Oh, I did.
Really
I doubled down on it.
Yeah, you tripled down. Because, right now, I guess, how much properties do you have?
Yes, so right now I have 6 properties.
Yeah. And then they're mostly now in Sudbury, though, right?
Yes, so I pivoted my strategy after I finished my first true burr in Windsor.
Yeah.
And then I decided to look for a market that's even more cheaper. Because at that time, COVID has, we started to understand the virus more.
Yeah.
And people are starting to purchase property, and the competition was going up. And so that was still a good experience because I've made all the mistake I need to make. I learned all the fundamentals from this one property, and so that's why I always tell novice real estate investor, just fucking do it, because you're gonna make mistake regardless. I had a coach and I still made mistake. You're gonna fuck up no matter what. But that learning, that experience that you had, it's something that nothing can replace you. Nothing can replace.
Yeah.
And you can take all that experience and transfer anywhere in the world if you decide to invest that fundamentally makes sense because you already learned the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Like everything that you can think of, tenant, destroy my property, rat infestation, mold, everything, that all happened all at once, even when I had a coach. But the thing was, having a coach that at least guided me, mindset and everything, gave me the fundamentals and also learning along the way. So I have 2 aspects of learning, and that gave me the confidence to move and pivot my strategy right away. And 3 months later, I was able to pivot to Sudbury. So
yeah, no, and I agree with that because I remember when Claudia and I bought our first property in Sydney, like you said, like you can read all the books, you can talk to all the investors, but until you get a property and it happens to you, and that's when you really learn, like, okay, like, shit, how am I gonna pivot here or there, right?
Yeah.
And like you have to learn on the go.
How was the pivot from Windsor to Sudbury? Was it something difficult, or was it something you were able to do quite easily with having a coach?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it was like a smooth sailing, but it was definitely, the transition wasn't as painful as I thought it would be. Having a coach to guide me along the way, plus also the mistakes I made, like I knew how, like, this power team, we always say the power team, which is comprised of like, your lawyers, your accountant, your general contractor, your electrician, all that. Well, there's a couple of things missing in that piece. You'll always have your same lawyer.
Yep.
You'll always still have your mortgage broker. You'll always have your financial advisors. You'll always have your coach. So that's already like the basic fundamental of your power team.
Yep.
You just need to find general contractor and restart your, electrician, all that stuff, right? But so that was a great pivot. It was this transition was. It was still doable.
Yeah.
And all I need to do is find my realtor. I just need to find my electrician, plumbers, and all those. But once you have a realtor, he'll connect you with all that. And that's exactly what happened to me. Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
That seems very intimidating though, like investing afar. You know what I mean? Like especially Sudbury, it's what, like 5-hour drive for you? 6-hour drive?
It's 4 hours.
Oh, okay, not too crazy.
It's just like same distance as Windsor.
Yeah, and before, did you have any business experience? Like, how were you able to pull people together?
No, I'm just a nurse, man. We don't. That's the thing about nurses. I love my healthcare community, but financially wise, we were ill prepared for it. You give us a heart, you give us a lung, we can dissect it easily for you guys. But when it comes to money, finances, like, we suck at it. And so I think that's why for my healthcare providers, I'm trying to be the first person to test out that market, test out everything, learn all the mistake, and then shed my story to help my fellow healthcare provider, to tell them, to give them the courage to do exactly what I'm doing, because we are actually very capable individuals. Healthcare providers are some of the most hustlers and resilient people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we are put into a situation that we literally think that we're not gonna make it, but we still pull through with the right teamwork, right mindset, and right organization, which we have. Like, we healthcare provider are underrated, like real estate investors.
Yeah, and also it's probably the perfect environment to be investing in real estate because of like the security in their job, right?
Yeah, exactly, and that's what's bound us, a lot of us, and it did with me too. You know, I was dying of like focusing on our pension. It's better than nothing, but is it the right way to get us into financially independent itself? No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because with inflation, you look at the gas prices, you know, that's already indicated. It's like literally right in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hello, you know,
Yeah.
this is not the solution for the way of life. You know, there's more to it. You know, we need to not only focus on our day job, but we also have to focus on some of our funds into investment vehicles.
Yeah. And what was your like the 3 biggest lessons that you can transfer from nursing to becoming your own like entrepreneur, business owner?
3 lessons?
Yeah, like 3 things that you can bring from nursing to like real estate investing.
Yeah, the first thing is just do it, you know, because we are all capable, not just nursing, but everything we do. You know, I think everyone that has a job, we have a set of skill we can offer into real estate. And so for myself in nursing, you know, we have a great, like myself and my fellow healthcare providers, we have empathy, you know, business, real estate, whatever, as long as it's transaction and business, finances wise, it's all relationship based. You don't have empathy, nobody will trust you, nobody wants to work with you. And in my line of work, you know, tenants we deal with, a lot of them are very distressed, and some of them are very reasonable, but at the end of the day, it's a relationship based. You need to be able to communicate with them. You need to show empathy, because a lot of people who rent, there's always something going on in their life. Everyone wants to own a house, but the thing is, there's something holding them back. So a lot of the renters, even my good tenants, you know, they're struggling to find houses, you know, and you have to be empathetic in their situation. This is the home that they have. You need to be able to understand that, you know, a lot of landlords I know, the shady landlords, they want to kick them all out. But the thing is, you know, this is their home for now until they can find something. And a lot of people are struggling to find houses these days. So we have to be very empathetic about that. And I think healthcare provider does such a great job at that, you know, where it's just natural for us.
Yeah. No, and that's probably like the biggest thing too, right? It's like that empathy piece.
Yeah.
Right. And especially like you said, like when you're dealing with tenants and like people who've been in houses for 15 plus years, right? And then they're expected to move out or something like that, then it's definitely tough to have that conversation.
Exactly.
But what I've learned is like, especially with like being part of Corey's program, is like those tough conversations are the most important conversations to have. Like those are the ones that are really going to move the needle forward, right?
Yeah. Those tough conversations is what makes you very successful, because it's very nerve-wracking. And second thing is, nobody likes to confront others. So I think, you know, that's another key piece in my nursing, is that we deal with so many personalities. Our patients are not always stable. You know, we have some very stable but not so stable. The unstable people are the ones with a lot of mental health. And the line of work that I deal with, people that are really sick, their mental health isn't as sharp, you know. So there's a lot of aggressions. There's a lot of confrontations, uncomfortable cornering you, and you just have, and I'm put into these situations. So when I transfer them to real estate, it's very applicable.
Yep.
But I always tell everybody, novice or intermediate investor that reaches out to me, you know, it's, you know, whatever job you're in, you can always transferable anything, you know, whether you are a janitor, whether you are someone who is, custodian. Whether you're a custodian, you know, or you're an environmental hygienist, you know, you're always dealing with people, and you can always transfer them to real estate, you know. So
no, that's a big piece right there.
What do you find were some I guess goals of yours when you first started that you were able to accomplish really quickly, or ones that you set for yourself early that you still haven't got there yet?
So I've always wanted to build an in-house team.
Okay.
So I always believe that, to be really successful, you need to start having your own employees and be the master and be the champion of not only holding yourself accountable, but also be a leader. And so for me, being a leader is building an empire, building a company, just like what you guys are doing. You guys are doing really great,
Appreciate it.
But it all starts from the bottom to up, right? And so for myself, my biggest goal is to start with a small company outside of real estate. So right now I've started. We're still building. It's brand new. We're doing property management.
Okay.
So I have experience with long-term rental. So I recently added short-term rental, so Airbnb, and I recently also added tenant acquisition, so helping fellow investors or local landlords to find tenants as well too.
And what's that company called?
So so I haven't announced it yet.
Oh, okay.
But no, I'm gonna announce it right now. It's called Orchid Extended Stay Rental, and I'll be putting it into IG very shortly to showcase what. And there's a really good meaning behind it. It represents my grandmother. So my grandmother was the one who loves Orchid.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what, this is the best thing to do, So every single one of my properties, short-term and medium-term rental, they all have an Orchid in there.
Damn.
Oh, that's sick.
That's very meaningful, man. Like, that's very respectable.
Yeah.
I was just saying, do you find putting a meaning behind, I guess, the goal you're going for helps it and almost like invigorates you to do better or actually accomplish it?
Yes. So I've started to get I'm starting to have more investors that's noticing what my mission, my goals are, and a lot of people are finding my values sync with theirs.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I want to do, because there's a dying need of property managers in small tertiary areas. And so where I focus is Sudbury, Ontario. And so a lot of investors are telling me that they need people to look after the property, or they need help finding tenants. And this is where I come in.
Yeah.
And that's where I've been slowly helping people. I haven't gone all out yet on that, because at the end of the day, I want to build my in-house team, which I have now. And we need to mature at a slow pace, because if we have too much that we can chew, then we're going to be a disservice to our investors and also local landlords.
Yeah. And what are those values that you say that others align with you?
So integrity. So like I was saying telling you guys, we need to be first understand what we can chew, because if we take on too many inventory, we're going to be just like over leveraged.
Yeah.
If you're over leveraged, or if you have too much on a goal on a plate, then how can you help other people, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I felt when I was starting as a novice investor. I sometimes feel like I've been always switching power teams and everything. Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it's you're growing, they're growing. It's there's a time where people have to part ways. But for myself, if it hurts my business, then I need to do something about it. And I was getting tired of switching back and forth, and switching people to help me. And sometimes no one comes to help you. So that's why I started to have it in-house. And I brought that experience, how I felt, for a novice investors in their shoe, because I felt the same thing. I don't want that same thing that happens to them.
Yeah.
So not that I want to turn people down, it's because I always tell them very truthfully. That's another thing, accountability and being truthful. I want your business, but the thing is, this is the situation. I don't want to have a disservice.
Yeah.
And people usually understand that. And you know what? People still reach out to me and just ask me, like, how's everything going? How's your team? Are you ready to onboard me?
Yeah. I don't know, that's special. And then what's your second company there? It's the Big Dreams?
Yeah, my main company, my holding company is Big Dreams Real Estate Investment. And then underneath it will be Orchid Extended Stay Rental.
I like that name, Big Dreams. Obviously, it kind of explains itself, but why did you pick that?
It all starts with a dream, and that's exactly what happened. I have this massive, audacious dream that I want to do well for my family, where I can take them wherever they want to go, whenever I want to please to leave, be able to stick to nursing. Because at the end of the day, I still love being a nurse. But what's shackled me is the finance piece, can you imagine if you are financially independent, and if you are become financially free, you can take time off whenever you want to. Obviously not in nursing, but that's okay. But there's a passion to it, right?
Yeah.
And real estate had really, it really saved me, because when I found out that I can reach financial freedom very soon, it just makes me enjoy my job as a nurse anymore. I'm not as I'm not like angry anymore. Internally. You
have something to look forward to.
Exactly.
Like you're being a nurse, and you're like, okay, I know something down the line is coming better, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's a purpose now, you know?
Yeah.
And even if the next layoff, you know, who knows? Like, I didn't know I would get laid off. So the next time they lay me off, I'll be like, okay, fine.
I'm shocked that nurse got laid off. I'm still kind of like in shock with that.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that I'm not ready to talk about in healthcare, but my fellow healthcare providers, we're talking about doctors, nurses, OT, PTs, Ally Health. We all know what's behind the scene. We're not ready to talk about it yet. I'm not ready just because I haven't left my job yet. Of course. So I'm not saying anything in case because this is gonna go air, and people that I know will see this. But there are some stuff that I don't want to get into politics right now.
But, 100%.
But for sure, like there's a lot of stuff behind the scene that general public doesn't know about.
No, and I've heard that from my nursing friends as well. You know what I mean? It's just like a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scene. We're not going to talk about it now, but it's a tough industry to be in part of.
I kind of want to jump back to where you said like you see the end of the road almost because you can be financially independent. Now knowing that is getting closer, do you find you're like leaving being a nurse is something that you're going to do for sure, or do you ever like potentially think you might juggle both of the jobs?
So I don't want to leave if possible, you know. The only time I'll leave is when they fire me or they like as in layoff, you know. Because I'm not here to ask people to there's a lot of social media saying that, you know, you got to quit your 9-to-5 job, you know. But if everyone quits, then we have nobody to help us, right? So I'm not here to leave, you know. I'm very intentional what I do as a nurse, and I love being a nurse because that's what I got into because of the caring aspect, and also I like helping people, you know. But I can see the possibility of growing a team to take over that so that I can freely do whatever I want. So that includes nursing, traveling, and all that stuff, and not even focus too much on real estate because I already have a team, right? And that's exactly what my goal was, you know, the big dream. Hence my name of my company is to grow a team, be a leader, be a service to the community, and provide good quality service to the people I care about and the people that wants to break through into doing something, you know.
And you mentioned family a couple times there. How important is family to you, and like how has that upbringing made you the man you are today?
So family. I come from family oriented environment, you know, so family means a lot to me. You know, I think most real estate investor I can speak to, they all got into investment some form, like whether crypto or stocks or real estate. They got in there because they want to protect their family as well too, whether immediately relatives. At the end of the day, it was all family at the end. And so with myself, you know, my parents are aging. We saw what happened to my grandmother. We saw the healthcare services that requires to help my grandmother during her death and dying. It's a lot of expenses. There's a lot of other expenses involved that once you retire, there's still a lot more, you know. So even my parents right now, they're retired. I still want to make sure that they're comfortable, you know. So whether they want to travel, whether they want to spend time going to other places, you know, there's I want to take good care of them. And also I have a sister who has 2 children, my niece and nephew. You know, it's let's be real, Toronto, you know, the houses, not just the houses are expensive, but just the living standard there alone. People are now moving to Sudbury. Like 10 years ago, we won't be seeing people want to do that, right? Like now people are forced to go like tertiary markets, you know, going to even to the boonies. Like where I live in Ottawa, there's a really beautiful countryside called Russell and like Enbrim. Nobody would go there, you know. Well, I mean, there are people that lives there, but the population is very small. But now people in Ottawa are moving there because of the houses.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I'm saying, like we need to start looking after our family. We got to start looking after for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess like, is that a big part of your why? As why you do all this? Why you like, it's not easy. You're sacrificing a lot of your mental health, your energy, your time. It's not easy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely not easy. And there's a lot of stuff that goes into real estate that a lot of people don't know. I think there's a lot of social media says win, 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 win. But, for people that follows me and for people that knows me, I've always been putting my losses as well too. There's a lot of sacrifices, There's times that I literally want to hide under a rock. Like my house, like, you're in huge debt, which is true.
Yeah.
But you're in good debt. Yeah. But the mindset part really fucks you up.
Yeah.
There are times where you're really about to lose your mind because your team members that you really trust leaves you. Now you have to take on all the workload yourself. There's times where, I'm working as a nursing, juggling with real estate. Like nursing is pulling me this side, real estate is pulling me this side. So I'm bouncing everywhere. And then on top of that, my why is my family, right? Yeah. When my family wants to see me, I can't say, I cannot be there sometimes because we're so busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of moments that real estate investors that I know of, the one that really care about others and them and the people that and their business, good landlords and good real estate investors, they're burnt out, and that was the same thing with me. There's many times there's a lot of burnout.
Yeah. And how do you try to manage that burnout now?
Yeah, so I exercise a lot.
Yeah, I've seen that. I love to see those videos.
I love exercising. It's the best thing. I read a lot of books. Good thing with being in Corey's program, he always gives us book that trains our mind, and he's such a good person when it comes to mindset. Real estate, any business is so funny. It's every business is all about mindset. You can be someone that are very disadvantaged. I know some investors that are. I know an 18-year-old. An 18-year-old that doesn't have money at all. And what he does is he took action and he started a lawn mowing business, just cutting people's grasses.
Yeah.
And he was hustling. And he built enough equity, like more than nursing.
Wow.
And he decided to deploy that funds into real estate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can be someone who's so disadvantaged, you don't have any money whatsoever. But if you're willing to put in the hustle, the work, and the work ethics, like you can go beyond, So, and that's what I truly believe in. Like, so going back to your question, sorry.
No, it's
so I do a lot of exercising mindset books, and I have a trip coming up soon.
Yeah, I could talk about that a little bit.
I know that you were talking about that. You want to, so this is where I decide to go with my fellow investors to take a vacation. Well, it's not really a vacation. We're going to climb up, we're going to hike Mount Kilimanjaro. That's in Tanzania, the third largest mountain, dormant. And it's going to be a 7-day hike. And really why we decided to do it is because we want to bust our limited mindset.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of people who really wants to be successful into doing something, not just in real estate, you have to train your mind. So this is our way of training our mind to be more resilient, to be more bulletproof. And my buddy up north, Eric, we're doing cold showers. That's another thing, mindset. So this is what we have. It's very pleasurable for all of us. We don't see it as a chore. We see this fun. And for me, this is exciting. And that's what keeps me sane while I do real estate investing. Yeah.
You're also doing a Spartan race too, right?
That's right.
How much kilometers are you going to be running?
So I'll be running 10K for that. So I'm doing 2. One in Collingwood and one in Toronto.
Wow, you're doing both.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's my type of balance, but like up front, there's no such thing as balance.
Yeah.
Balance is where, and to me, balance is where you whatever time left you have, you do that. So for me, whatever time I have from real estate, I'm pouring all my dedication in real estate and nursing, but whatever time I have left will be in sports. Mm-hmm. Like mindset training, so like Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
So this is my balance.
And was that something that you've always done before, or was it something like once you remove that cap from your mindset and how you're thinking, then you started exploring with like the exercise, the Spartan man, like Or was that you before?
No. I was nowhere near what I am today. But I can tell you one thing for sure. I've always had a hardworking mindset. There's a podcast that I listened to. He explains it the best, the most. I didn't know what it is. It was until he told me that I was like, so that's what it is. It's the so I come from a immigrant family, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. It's called the Immigrant Mindset. So the Immigrant Mindset, what he was talking about, it's Bedros Keuilian. I should give him credit for that. The Immigrant Mindset. So what he was talking about is if your family comes from a country that's starting new, they're going to go through all these hardship. They're going to go through language barriers. You know how tough it is for these families? And when you're raised into this family, and that's why I give credit to my family, especially my grandmother, these are the people that came, like they have nothing, starting brand new. So I learn, I observe from them, These are the hardworking people. These are people that are frugal people. These are the people just like whatever happens to them, they just keep moving, get up and keep moving, And so that was always been ingrained into me. And but I never tapped into it. It's just automatically there's certain stuff that I do really well. But when it comes to finances, real estate investing, and workout, it was, it could be better. But when I found out that I can do so much more, that's when everything worked out. Yeah.
Can you attribute, so like a lot of people like I've talked to personally attribute almost like an evolution of themselves after or during COVID or whatever? Do you found yourself almost in that moment too?
Sorry, say that again.
So sorry. So like I've talked to people before and they've said that COVID was the reason they evolved into these people that they are now, either like being more successful or even just putting more time into themselves. Is that a point you can reflect on that was for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell this a lot to people, like COVID was a true test to all of us, I feel like we live in a society that is very entitled. Mm-hmm. And when people who are entitled, we're so lazy, we don't even want to do anything other than just sit on a couch and play video games, But for the people that have, like I was telling you about the immigrant mindset, the hardworking, the ethics, this is a true test to come out and really pour out what you ingrain your values, your core values into it, and just pour out to see if that's really truly if it's time, Yeah. And during when I was investing, there were other people that I met along the way, similar to me, They just they decide to change their life by getting into real estate at a time when COVID, because they know this is the best time. If they miss this opportunity, that's it. Their life is done. Yeah. That was the same thing with me, But I had a lot of things going on as well too, so I had nothing to lose. But these people who has like they come from great families. They come from abundance, but they see themselves as they can do more, and this is the perfect time for them. And that's exactly what COVID has really brought a lot of true investors.
Yeah, it's true.
Because when everyone was all afraid, like these are the people just burn their bridges and just whatever, just kept going forward.
Yeah. And I can relate to that so much. Even this podcast was it started from reflection on during COVID. Even me jumping into real estate started on reflection. I had that immigrant mindset too. Now that you say that, it's very interesting because it's so true. I remember my mom would tell us stories where her and my dad would come to Canada and they can't even order breakfast at a restaurant. They have to point at stuff or try to use hand signals, right? And I can never imagine how tough that is to come here at such a young age and your whole life you're kind of struggling and trying to fit in, be part of a society, right?
Yeah.
And that's so true. I do feel that extra that extra push in me for them. You know what I mean? Because I always say this: if my dad was born in Canada, he'd be the richest guy in Canada. Yeah. Because he'd take advantage of all the resources. You know what I mean? But
exactly.
It's that's so true. Do you feel that about the immigrant mindset?
Yeah, well, at least my mother, right? Because she's a single mother who's done the exact same thing. She came here, didn't know how to speak it, and for her, it's I've seen it because it's the conversations where she would want to talk to Roger, something so simple. It's here's the phone, you do the conversation. Yeah. And I guess that's where I kind of experienced that barrier. But for her, it's she has no option. Going back to this immigrant mindset with 2 kids, you have to kind of push for them, right? You don't have the option to kind of like some of us do, where we can sit back and watch it go, it kind of unfold in front of us.
Yeah. we all need to have that immigrant mindset.
Yeah.
Because that is the true grit and true hustle, and that will propel us for anything. Like really, honestly, like I was telling you earlier, like whatever that you dream about, whatever you want to accomplish, it all starts with hard work ethic, and that all comes from that immigrant mindset.
Yeah.
But the same thing, I wanted to like congratulate you as well too. You came at a time when, you know, the inflation, housing, economic crisis, and I see you on Instagram, and you're doing exactly what the coaches are doing. You're dropping off flyers, you're doing wholesaling. Like a lot of people like don't even want to do that. It's so nerve-wracking, it's so uncomfortable. Yeah. But you didn't give a shit, you know? You just fucking did it. You and your fiance that's sitting over there right now.
Yeah, thank you.
You both are like working together, you know? That's another thing, you know. What makes you both going to be very unique and special and stand out the most is you guys have each other, you know. I think there's a reason why we always say power couple, because when you're very good in one aspect and she's very good in one aspect, you guys combine together, you guys go further ahead, you know. So
yeah, and I always say that, like, without Claudia, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it. You know what I mean? Like like you said, she's good at things that I may not be as good as. But when we bounce ideas off one another, we feel like we can do whatever we want. You know, anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's
like
huge.
Honestly, like you and I already know some fellow investors that have childrens.
Yeah.
Like Corey has 4 children.
I don't know how Corey does it, man.
Yeah, exactly. And then we got Emily, that's and Ted, and they both have 2 childrens.
Yeah.
And then Sean Pierce has like that invests in Peterborough.
Yeah.
2 has a child. Wife is finally on board now.
Yeah.
But those 2 are like they're like there's no such thing as like no time, you know.
Yeah.
If you focus on your energy on one aspect, you know, and you work together, like you can balance your children's, you can balance your work, you can balance anything, and then you still be able to have some time to work on real estate. You don't need to grow fast, you know.
Yeah.
Real estate is a slow process, you know, so there's no rushing to it.
Yeah. But I like what you said earlier though. It's like you have to put in the work. You know, I feel like our society nowadays is very like manifest it. You know, manifest what you want. You know, you want this and that. Like, yes, you can do that, but that comes with a lot of freaking work behind it. It's impossible to manifest without the actual intention, the work, the energy towards that one task, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you believe in like the manifestation or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever you want to call it, manifestation, whatever that you believe it is. You know, I really believe that if you put in the work, everything pays off.
Yeah.
You know, I believe in the compound effect.
Yeah.
So the compound effect talks about that you put in the small work bits by bits by bits by bits consistently, and then increasing the whatever that was before that. You just, main thing is consistency, putting the work, and then adding additional more to it. Like you can propel yourself reaching the goal faster, and you can blow up, like in Grant Cardone say, 10x.
Yeah, really. Yeah, and I guess where do you see yourself in the next year or two? Like,
yeah, so I'm already working towards becoming the expert of Sudbury.
Yeah,
there's so much room to grow. I can't even consider myself yet the expert, but I am getting to the point where I want to become the expert of Sudbury, the market itself. So I'll be having teams. I'll be having more in-house team that can provide a lot of services to help investors, locals. I'll be able to know more locals that are willing to work with me, because in order to be successful in a market that you invest in, you first need to stand out to the locals, you know. So when I mean the locals, we're talking about people that are barbers, delis. I've already connected with all these people, but there's more. The population 170. I want to connect to all of them.
Yeah.
And then I want not that I want to be the popular or anything, but every one of those individuals, the locals, will be able to provide me insight off the market, telling me where all the off-market deals are.
Yeah. You want to be like a familiar face in the community, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So I can see myself doing that. And then I'm growing my short-term rental, so I can see myself doing hospitality, because I love hospitality industry, just because my father works in the hospitality industry before he retired. So that was something that it was ingrained to me, and something I really enjoyed, and so I want to take it to the next level, and continue with my long-term, medium-term rentals, be able to grow more trust in my investors' fellow peers, friends, more people in the healthcare industry, partnership with me.
Yeah.
Be able to stand out as a nurse, as a healthcare provider, to educate my fellow healthcare provider and novice investors. So that's exactly where I'm heading towards.
What was your first like partnership like? Was that scary to get into?
Oh, absolutely.
Tell me about that.
It's the fact that like if my property, something happens in property, I can at least be okay with that. But now you are looking after the asset of another person's, you know, that trust. Remember I talked about that integrity, you know, that service, you know, that's a lot of pressure for me. You know? Because if that's my reputation, this is Big Dreams real estate investment reputation, you know, I don't want to fuck it up. You know? And also like, I really believe that business is all not just transaction, but relationship based, you know. I can see all my partners, you know, be able to come to all the parties I have. I have this dream that when I reach to that point where I'm very comfortable, like financially free, I just want to rent this yacht and just have all my partners, all my friends to come in. Sweet. That's exactly what, and I can see my partners all jumping on board. I
can already see it. Instagram picture of Alvin on the yacht. He's recording and all the other partners are there.
Yeah, that's exactly what my dream is to just get this big yacht and we just go sail through the sunset, and then all of us are there, and I hope you come along as well too, and you too.
Yeah, 100% I'll be there.
Everyone that's in my journey, you know. So.
And how much partners have you had so far?
So I have 2. I'm working on 3 more right now, and they look very promising. So I'm very excited where everything is heading towards. But yeah. And
in that partnership, you're the active partner, and they're like the passive partner, or?
Correct.
Okay, okay. That's right. So yeah, no, it's probably like feels so good paying back an active, like someone who's lending you money.
Yeah.
Right. How does that feel like?
Well, that's another thing. You know, I come from a culture that you don't owe people's money.
Okay, yeah.
So that pressure of people giving you the money, you know, and you have to manage it. You don't want to lose it. That is very like there's a lot of pressure involved in that. You know, and I always tell my partner I don't sleep unless I get your money back, or at least get you what you want. You know.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? That's another thing. You know, when you're in this line of work that you and I are in, this business, you have to understand that we are always going to have to be used to borrowing money. We have to get used to being in good debt. So that's something that was my very first beginning of my journey. I was like, I don't want to owe people's money. I don't want to be in debt. But the truth is, what every single businessman, every businesswoman needs to understand is you have to start understanding that you have to receive them funds, and later on it'll take some time before you pay them all back.
What was it tough to have that conversation with the first person that you were lending money from? Like, is it a hard conversation to have?
Because like again, like that culture I was telling you about, like asking for people for money, it felt like I'm begging. But that's not true, you know. You're laughing. It's true. It's true. It's that aspect of just asking people like felt like I was begging. But it took a long time to understand you're doing them a service. You're helping them. Can you see that switch?
Literally.
You're helping them. Because if you didn't help them, they would probably sit with all these cash and slowly erode from inflation. So that was a great mindset change, and it took a long time.
And was the person, I guess, like your partner, were they used to investing in others, or was this a new kind of partnership?
So that was a different partnership. So what we were just talking about is called money lending.
Okay.
So I usually like to start off with money lending so that there's a trust built. So so when I do money lending, you know, it's also scary for them because they've never invested before, and their mindset's a little different than you and I, you know. And so you have to understand that it's very not just difficult for yourself, but it's also difficult for them to lend money to you.
For sure.
So I think that first you need to develop yourself. You need to build that confidence, you know. So if you have that limited mindset of saying that I'm begging for money, how is that going to project to your money lender? Your money lender is going to see you nervous. Your money lender is going to see you shit your pens, and so they're going to shit their pens. So they're not going to lend you anything. So that's what I was noticing. I was like, why am I not getting any money lenders? It's because of that. So when I started to change my mindset, go work out, punch some more drywalls, go back to my money lenders.
Yeah.
I have that awesome like aura in me, and then they'll be like, okay, fine, I trust you now.
Yeah. No, that's huge, and I agree with you. And like the way to grow your business is like, you know, with other people. At the end of the day, it's people who move money.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's not like it's you're talking to this person, you'll talk to them, they'll make the deal work. It's all communication and relationships, right?
It's kind of, I like the whole idea for you also too. It's always going back to like a team aspect. I think it's like probably comes from like that nursing, but is it hard for you to find like people that you want on your team? Like, is there a big screening process?
Yeah, so there is a big screening process. In the beginning, my screening process was really dumb and stupid. But you learn along the way. Yeah. Because you find out that whatever that person, that team member couldn't perform, it was because you didn't do a good job in vetting. Mm-hmm. So you change up your script. Yeah. Your interview process, whatever HR talks about these days, and you bring that to that person. So it's all about experience as well too. So like I said, you know, you're gonna fuck up no matter what. Yeah. But these are good fuck ups. Yeah. Because that's gonna help you grow, and that's one thing a lot of people like going backwards again. You know, novice investors or people starting out. You know, you need to jump in. You need to take action.
Yeah. Okay. What do you say to those people who say, you know, the market is crashing, it's not going to recover, interest rates are rising, they keep on rising, it's not going to stop? Like, where do you see the real estate market in the next, like, you know, couple years? I know we don't have a crystal ball, but you can make a prediction maybe. Yeah.
So, I mean, this was back in 2008. You know what happened to that? Housing crisis. Yeah. And people who stick long enough and weather the storm, look at where they are now. Yeah, they have true wealth. Yeah. So it's that saying, you know, it's not timing the market, it's time
in the market.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And right now, I guess, are you focusing on cash flow right now or equity building, or what's your strategy?
So I'm working both. You need to, true wealth starts with buying and holding property. So I'm still doing that, but they produce little bit of cash flow. Yeah. So I need to have cash flow still. Yeah. But because of the inflation, that's why I said little cash flow, but it's better than nothing nowadays, right? So as long as you have cash flow, you'll weather the storm. And that's exactly what people need to understand, is that when you buy, it's not recklessly. You need to do the numbers correctly. When I say numbers, you need to analyze this property nicely so that it produces cash flow, so that you can weather the storm, so that you can get back into that market where we were so comfortable the last 3 years or 2 years ago. Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. So I'm still buying, I'm still investing. I have no problem in any market, because as long as you have cash flow, you can weather anything. Yeah. If you should never even think about appreciation in my first place. Yeah. Starting out, when you have a shit ton of money, then you can invest into markets that are only appreciation. But like for where you and I are now starting, you know, we need to find areas that produces cash flow. Yeah. And right now you're focusing on small multifamilies? Is that your small multifamilies. The biggest one I have right now is fourplex. Yeah. We are starting to look into commercial, and that's exactly the road for all real estate investors. Yeah, that's my next question. So are you going to eventually pivot to the commercial, you know, bigger buildings? Oh yeah, for sure. Because that's a whole new different investment, you know. The qualification for that, it's a different process compared to residential properties that you and I are talking about, the small multifamilies. That's like the next level. It's a little bit more complicated. So that's something that I see myself growing. And also my long-term vision is to start to get into commercials and how to turn these commercial into hospitality. Yeah.
So going back to your dad, like what your dad
exactly. Said. So at the end of the day, like Corey talks about this really last time, you know, there's people get into real estate investment or business. Eventually they'll do something that deep inside them as a child or what they're growing up, the real passion for, you know. I have a friend that got into business, but he always loved fitness. So he would rent out a place and then he'll convert it into a fitness studio.
Cool.
So there you go. So everyone has something different.
And for you, you would say that's that hospitality piece?
Yeah, exactly. For me, it's the hospitality or a restaurant because I love food. So we'll see. We'll see.
Really? So maybe a restaurant's coming down the line, eh?
Yeah, big dreams.
That'd be cool. But yeah, no, I guess we're slowly kind of running out of time here, but I want to just quickly ask, for someone who wants to, I guess, be in your shoes, you know, they want to own a lot of properties, have successful businesses, you know, also work, like what's advice that you would give them, like, to start off?
Oh, sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, what's some piece of advice that you would give someone who's like wanting to be where you are right now?
Yeah, so first you have to understand that you are capable of doing anything, but it all starts with having that mindset where you need to put in work. Like, you need to have that work ethic. And the second piece is, once you figure all that out, you know, take action, because nobody's going to wait for you. That property, if you think it's great, most likely someone would feel the same thing. It's a great property, you know. And I have multiple times that I had that analysis paralysis, and 2 minutes later that property was picked up. So it just proves that real estate doesn't wait for people, you know. And I think it's the same thing in life, you know. Nobody's gonna wait for you. You have to take action.
Yeah.
Even if it's the most scariest thing ever, you know. As long as you have good work ethic, as long as you have that mentality, you have nothing to lose. You know, how bad can it be? You know, you let's just say your property, like, something happens, you know, bad tenants, infestation. I went through that, and I survived. Some of the best investors that I know of, they had even worse. They had their house burned down, and yet they're still standing. It just proves that resilience, hard work ethics, and having the right team members, you know, you're never alone. Just do it.
Yeah.
That's fire.
Beautiful. I guess, we could probably wrap it up there. Alvin, thank you so much, man, for coming here and taking the time to sit with us. We really appreciate it. Any last words from you?
Yeah, no, honestly, thank you for everything. Thank you for even, like, just a little insight on, like, kind of your life and how you're operating. It was honestly really cool, and I hope I hope you crush that climb.
Thanks.
Really excited to hear when you're back from that and how it went. So
yeah. Thank you. Appreciate for having me.
No, of
it's
course.
Fun.
And thank you for everyone who watched. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll add all your tags for all, like, you know, Alvin, the properties, everything. We'll add all the Instagram. Make sure they follow you too, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. Peace.